Hello, my friends. We're back at Walt Disney World, the most magical place on Earth. I don't normally enter Disney World from the east side like this, but it's 2021, and that means that it is officially Disney World's 50th anniversary. And although the celebrations haven't really started yet because Magic Kingdom didn't open until October, along this road, now known as Hotel Plaza Boulevard, in January 1970, Disney World did in fact open up to the public in the form of this building, which was originally the Walt Disney World Preview Center. Yes, that's right, my friends. This humble edifice before us was the first building open to the public at Walt Disney World. To promote the upcoming Vacation Kingdom of the World, as it was being advertised, curious locals and visitors from around the country could step into this small building and check out maps and plans and concept artwork, be greeted by a bevy of Walt Disney World hostesses who could explain what was coming just around the corner, purchase Disney merchandise, which to that point had only been available on the West Coast at Disneyland. I believe there was even a little cafe inside the Preview Center, and if you were really lucky, you might even get to meet a Disney character. Look at this photo from the brochure. Man, that must have been exciting. If you were from Orlando and you came down just as a curious looky-loo and ran into a Disney character, oh man, that would be some exciting stuff. A friend of mine named Ken Stack sent me a photo of the Preview Center from this hotel across the street in all its original 1970s glory, when it was pretty much the only building perched here on the edge of Lake Buena Vista. Cool thing is, as you can see, not much has changed. Well, at least on the outside. It's amazing. Those are the same steps and handrails that you would have used to go into the Preview Center. Not much has changed at all. I mean, the plants have grown up a little bit. And of course, the Disney World Preview hostesses are gone now. And the then very quiet and remote Preview Boulevard has become the very busy and important Hotel Plaza Drive. But for the most part, the old Preview Center building sits here looking much as it did in the 1970s, nestled along the shores of Lake Buena Vista in peaceful retirement. Of course, on the last day of September in 1971, the Preview Center would close forever. And the very next day, the Magic Kingdom would open its gate to the world. And that is where we're headed next to get an early start on celebrating Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary and check out some of the things that have changed over the years. I'll tell you one noticeable change already before we're even in the park, and that, of course, is parking. Obviously, the price of everything has changed since the 1970s, and parking is no exception. Look at this parking ticket from 1972. This little receipt here you would have left on your dashboard. It says 48 cents plus 2 cents tax. Wow, and even back then, look, please lock your vehicle. Now, obviously, the price was going to be changed. That's not why I bring it up. I bring it up because on the back, you can see the original parking lot area names. That means today, where I'm parked in Jafar, right next door to Zurg, back in the day, I'd be in Sleepy, right next door to Dopey. It's also interesting that there was a mini parking lot, but no Mickey. Of course, most certainly the biggest change here in this 50th anniversary year of Disney World is the use of face coverings and masks. And unfortunately, now that we're heading into the parks, we're going to be a little more muffly. But hey, I guess this is now part of Walt Disney World history as well. Now, one thing that's been here from the beginning, of course, is the Disney World monorail system. The original, and some say the best way to get to Magic Kingdom from the TTC here. Now, you might be saying, wait, what about the ferry boats? Those are original too, right? Well, the answer is only kind of. The ferry boats that we know and love today crossing the Seven Seas Lagoon are based on the 1932 Staten Island ferries. And the first two of these didn't start plowing the waters here until 1972. Apparently, during Thanksgiving 1971, they quickly realized that the original ferry boats were too small and too slow. And that's where these big boys came into play. Incidentally, back then, this boat, the Admiral Joe Fowler, was named the Magic Kingdom 1. Ooh, and side note really quick, while we're on the subject of changes, the Polynesian Resort was here on opening day in 1971 as one of the original 2 deluxe resorts here, along with the Contemporary Hotel. And as we're about to see, it's undergone quite a few changes since the early 70s. Most notably being very dramatically expanded. Look at that beach today, all blocked up by the modern bungalows, and then check it out back in the 70s, courtesy of Stack's Liberty Ranch. Dude, that's an unbelievable change right there. All right, as for the boats, now before they have the Staten Island ferry replicas, Disney had 2 custom-built steamboats in these waters serving as ferry boats that they called Osceola class side wheelers, known as the Southern Seas and the Ports of Call. Now, because they were actually steamboats, they were apparently very, very slow and didn't have a very high guest capacity compared to the modern boats. And after being replaced by the modern fleet of ferry boats, they were put to other uses and then eventually scrapped. Pretty interesting though, because it's hard to picture Walt Disney World without these ferry boats. But they, like a lot of classic parts of Magic Kingdom, were actually a couple of latecomers. Speaking of Magic Kingdom, ooh, I'm ready. Oh yeah, that's certainly very different looking than the original dock with the old Ports of Call steamship, that's for sure. Oh, look at it. It's beautiful out here today. And to jump back in time a little, look at this. It wasn't much different back in 1971. I mean, definitely the old benches are gone and, you know, there are quite a few more boat docks and things like that. The biggest change really to me, or what jumps out at me, is how much more stuff there is between the Magic Kingdom gate and the Contemporary. Wow. That's a big change. Now look back in January 1972 at this photo from the monorail station. Compare that to the view today. Oh boy, has that shrubbery grown up. Not exactly the same angle, of course, and that's because of the aforementioned shrubbery. But that just goes to show you Disney had this whole entrance dialed in from the beginning, and why mess with success? Oh, it's nice to see Floral Mickey again, and of course, he's always been here all the way since 71. I'm guessing they're doing a little 50th anniversary refurbishment on the train station here. So probably not much point to flash back and forth when it's all covered up like this. But this is also the site of one of the weirdest vintage Disney World photos I've ever come across. Check it out right here in February 1972. There was a car parked in front of the train station. What in the world? What kind of car even was that? Looks like my grandma's old Oldsmobile. I'm guessing that was for some sort of sponsorship, and the reason they used Pinocchio to tell everyone how great the car was is obviously that if his nose wasn't growing, he wasn't lying. Look at this over to the left. Other than the train not running, you'll notice not much has changed since March 1976. That's one beautiful thing about Magic Kingdom. All right, that's enough of this nonsense. Let's get inside the park. Oh. Words of joy. Tunnels of joy. Name me a more joyful tunnel. Huh? I'll wait. Oh, Magic Kingdom, you are one of my favorite places on Earth. And now that it's been 50 years, you could say it's been that way for many people for generations. I mean, take a look at this. Let's jump back from this view 30 years to the 1990s during Disney World's 20th anniversary. Dude, what the heck? Very little has changed, except I just noticed the mailbox in that photo is missing. Huh, but you could still see where it would have been mounted right here. Ooh. Dude, guys, the 90s was 30 years ago. That's messed up right there. Oh my gosh, look at this. It's all my friends. Hi guys, hi Minnie, hi Mickey. Huh. I wonder where Goofy is today. Well, I may not know where Goofy is today, but I do know where he was in December 1971. He was right down over here greeting guests. Just look at that lovable Goof right there. And wow, look at that 70s hair. Almost looks like a wig. And whoa, look at that outfit back there. Man, this might be one of the only places where the trees have actually gotten thinner. Much more wide open today. Well, maybe that's just because it's technically winter. All right, look at these buildings over here next to the Emporium back in another winter in 1976, and look at the view today. I think the paint's changed a little, but that's about it. Hey, look at this. We got a mini parade coming through. It's Tinkerbell on top of a treasure chest. Ooh. And let's see here. Yep, nobody else behind her, just Tinkerbell right now. They can't have the big parades right now, of course, because of social distancing. They don't want too many people gathered together. But it's cool that they're doing this with a few characters at least, because of course Town Square has been famous for its parades for 50 years. Of course, probably the most famous and most classic of the early Walt Disney World parades in the 70s was the one they launched for the American Bicentennial in 1976, which people absolutely flocked to come and see here. I mean, thousands and thousands of people watch that parade from right here in Town Square, all down Main Street, USA, and of course, all the way back to Frontierland. Looking back on it now, some of the stuff in that parade looks a little spooky, a little creepy from our perspective. But believe me, that Bicentennial Parade, America on Parade, I believe it was called, was a big deal back then. Very popular choice. Oh, and speaking of parades, here come the princesses again. Hey gang, it's me, your friend. Notice me. Oh, whenever I see a princess, I think of Allie. Oh. Well, anyway, we don't want to get too hung up on parades because I could sit here and show you tons of them. I mean, just standing here and looking back into Town Square, for example, do you know how many Disney characters came this way? How many hundreds of parades and thousands of guests? Man, it must be millions and millions of memories made right here. All right, now let's take a look down Main Street today, and then let's jump back to Main Street, USA in the 1970s. Look at that. Oh my gosh, look at that. I wish the Main Street vehicles were out today. Unfortunately, during social distancing, they're not really a thing at the moment, although they have been using them to ferry out some characters from the 100-acre wood from time to time. Ooh, and whenever they do, we get to see the old school horse can following behind. Hashtag horse can, make it a thing. All right, now where was I? Oh yes, Main Street, USA. Check out this amazing footage from the early 70s of just before the park opens. Wow, that is amazing. Look at that. Even during social distancing here, it's not that empty. But watch what happens next. Bam! Rope drop. Dude, look at that. That is quite a crowd. I love looking at old footage like this because you can see what people were fascinated by, and people back then were definitely fascinated by Main Street, USA. It's interesting because recreating that shot here, I just noticed that what is now Crystal Arts back then used to be the old Market House. And then the Crystal Arts sign is in the background where Starbucks is now. Ooh, they pulled the old switcheroo. That's the thing, right? The biggest changes on Main Street through the years are usually the changes to the inside of the stores. Magic Kingdom, though, has a giant exception because before 2001, this whole piece of building right here was missing, and there was actually a whole other street right here. Coming around this corner in the 70s, you would have seen the West Center Street Flower Market, just like back at Disneyland. Oh, and apparently this girl's sticking her tongue out at us. This is a truly extinct piece of Disney history that used to exist at Main Street, USA in California, here in Florida, but no longer. And if we were to line it up, the then and now of that flower market would look something like this today. Wow! That, though, it's more surprising to me how little Main Street, USA has changed since December 1971 than how much it has. Well, I guess the music is probably a little different, but what are you gonna do? Times change. Hi, Mickey! By the way, real quick, tiny detail in that shot going around the corner into the flower market, you can see those poles right there if you pause, and those same very unique divoted poles are still here today. I just get excited about stuff like that. All right, well, there's about 8,000 more things on Main Street that I would love to talk about. But we've spent all this time here and haven't even got to the castle yet, and that's just wrong. Wow, look at that. Obviously, the first change you think of here is that the castle has now changed colors. But actually, the most dramatic change in this part of the park has to be the hub itself. It's much more dramatic in satellite photos than anything I can show you on the ground. But basically, just a few years ago, the hub underwent a massive transformation and expansion, mostly to accommodate more guests during fireworks shows and things like that. All of these little garden areas that are now fast pass and reserve seating for fireworks shows and things like that were all just little grassy lawns. The old hub was just what is basically now just the inner circle of the hub, with a much narrower sidewalk. So unlike today where we have almost a triple ring around the hub with nice long wide walkways to get around fireworks crowds, in the old days if the hub got packed for the parade or for fireworks, well, basically you weren't going anywhere for a while, so you might as well enjoy the show. I forgot to mention, as you can see here, they also widened the pathway through the center part of the hub as well. And if you look carefully back in the 70s, you'll notice there was no partner statue, no Walt and Mickey, just your ordinary circular planter. They definitely needed the expanded walkways, and I have to admit that the hub gardens over here do look really nice. The old hub's grassy lawns were much simpler, but one cool thing was they were full of topiaries, dude. Look at those. Sadly, for the most part, the topiaries are gone from Walt Disney World, unless we're counting Flower and Garden at Epcot. But there is at least one sneaky little holdover. Just to the right of the bridge to Tomorrowland is the Magic Kingdom Sea Monster. One of my favorite sights here, and apparently one of this duck's favorite sights as well. You've got great taste, buddy. Gosh, it feels good to see Mickey Mouse again. Anyway, one of the reasons that the original hub was so narrow is because this was a much more prominent feature back then. The waterway surrounding the central hub at Magic Kingdom was meant to be seen from every angle. Gently sloping lawns led down here, and back in those days, instead of just seeing ducks, you would have also seen swans. And not just the actual, biological bird, although those were here too, but also the more rare form of swan, the Swan Boat. Oh yes, Swan Boats. Just across the way, right over there, was the Swan Boat loading dock, and that is where you could board one of the Swan Boats for a trip around the Magic Kingdom's hub, and actually, although a lot of people don't know this, all the way over to the Swiss Family Robinson treehouse before it would eventually circle back again. Now, of course, it wasn't an opening day attraction. I believe the Swan Boat started in 1973 and only ran until 1983, and basically right up until 2014-15 when they started expanding the hub, the loading dock for the Swan Boat sat right down there. Sort of a mysterious abandoned reminder for all those guests that loved the Swan Boats back in the day. And I think right till the end, a lot of people hoped, since the dock was over there, that the Swan Boats would eventually come back. Sadly, the hub expansion meant new, bigger bridges and of course changes to the waterway, which today would make that impossible. I often wonder what they'll do with the former path area that led down to the Swan Boat dock. It's interesting that they expanded the pathways. They wanted more foot traffic space, but never put that path back in. You could take some great engagement photos down there though. Wow. Personally, I like the new hub, and not just because it's the one I'm familiar with. It just makes sense at Walt Disney World, especially in normal times with normal crowds, to have as much space as possible. But I get why some people who grew up going to Florida miss the old version. After all, it was a lot more like our Disneyland hub area. And as you see, it's quite a contrast from Christmas back in the 70s in that photo from Ken Stack versus nowadays. Wow, the trees did look good, and I'm a big fan of shade, but this way, there are way less things to block your epic view of the castle, less things blocking your perfect sick pic, and of course, way less obstructions when trying to view the fireworks. Those of you who've been stuck behind a big old tree during a fireworks show, oh, you'll understand how I feel about it. Plus, we wouldn't want anything to obstruct our view of Gaston. Look at him. He's beautiful! What did I just even say? Ooh, there's the real beauty. Mary Poppins. Yes! I always had a crush on Mary Poppins, and everybody said I was weird. What? She's practically perfect in every way, just like Cinderella's castle here. Ooh, before I forget, here's some shots of the old hub back in the day with the Main Street vehicles cruising through. See, now looking around today, you'd hardly believe this was the same area. Crazy. Now the hub, of course, has always been a big hub of entertainment as well. All the way back in the 1970s, they were putting on productions and shows in front of the castle on the stage here. And even though the stage has had quite a few upgrades in the last couple years, and is apparently getting some more of those upgrades right as we speak, I suspect that's going to remain true through the 50th anniversary year as well. As you can see, there certainly have been a lot of changes here in the past 50 years, a lot of history. So much that I was trying to be quick about it, and all we've managed to do so far is reach the castle. We still got Tomorrowland, Adventureland, Frontierland, Liberty Square, and Fantasyland to go through. And trust me, there's a whole lot to see in each of them. Unfortunately, there's so much to see that with the sun getting this low in the sky, I don't think we're gonna have enough time. Dude, Oh, that kiss was for me! I know. Trust me, it frustrates me more than anyone. But to make it up to you, next time when we come back, we are gonna see some epic stuff, including inside some old school Disney World attractions, and maybe just learning a few things about the history of the park that we never knew before. So stick around and stay tuned, because this is just the warm-up. This is just the very tip, the very beginning of a whole Disney World history series, and I can't wait to share it all with you. Oh, look at this. Ooh. I've had a bunch of weird troubles and problems and glitches of every kind since I've been here, which I'll elaborate in the Patreon vlog. But you know, every time I would normally start to feel a little bit frustrated with whatever's going on, I look around at where I am and I'm like, oh yeah, let's keep things in perspective. A year ago, we were headed into darkness, into the lockdowns, into uncertainty. And now here we are, things are unlocking. Millions of people are getting vaccinated, including my parents. And I gotta tell you, even though we have a little ways to go as I'm standing here in it, I am really looking forward to the day when all this, and especially this, is one of those things we're looking back at like, whoa, crazy, wasn't it? Just like some of the other stuff we were looking at in this video. I feel it coming, my friends. I feel like we've turned the corner. We've rounded the bend in the river. Maybe. I'll knock on wood just in case. All right, okay. Make sure to check out Instagram and our online store. Ooh, with hats and whatnot. And of course, there's the subscribe, there's the ringing the thing and hitting the other thing. And then you know what, my friends? If you've done all that, then you've done your duty. You can go home and sleep well. Meanwhile, I'm gonna be getting ready for round 2. Get excited, and I'll see you real soon. Snakes. Oh, why did it have to be snakes? Snakes. I don't know no snakes. I never see snakes. All I ever see are squirrels. Hello, little squirrel. Oh, you're not afraid of anything, are you? And I can't wait to share it all with you. Oh, look at this. Ooh. Has anyone ever noticed that that almost sounds like an evil version of the Brady Bunch song, you know? Just a little bit. Ooh.